Well, it's pretty much stands that all Progressives Congress APC in River State will not field candidates at all levels of the 2019 general elections after the hue and cry over the legality of its primaries held last year. The Supreme Court has now upheld the judgment of the lesser court. Let's get a broader understanding from Emmanuel Anene. He is indeed a lawyer, as well as Tochukwu Ohazurike, both legal practitioners. They join me from our Abuja studios. Many thanks indeed, gentlemen, for coming on the show at this time. Let me start with you, Mr. Emmanuel. The appeal against the High Court ruling, having been withdrawn by the APC, is tantamount to outright dismissal. Is that true?
Yeah, good evening once more, and good evening, Nigerians, and thanks for having me. If there is a withdrawal and the parties have joined issues, withdrawal at that point in time will amount to dismissal. That is in the eye of the law. But let me put proper perspective to what happened today in River State. There was primary election by APC in River State, and that primary election led to litigation. And High Court in River State gave a judgment which certain persons were dissatisfied with. Then they approached the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal upheld the judgment of the lower court. Now today, what the Supreme Court did is to nail the final coffin of the APC. They are not going to participate in that election again. By the virtue of Section 230 of the Constitution, 233 of the Constitution, and 235 of the Constitution, the decision coming from Supreme Court is final, and you cannot stay it and you cannot review it. So the implication of this judgment today is that APC has lost out completely in River State House of Assembly election, in River State National Assembly election, and the gubernatorial election in River State. That's the implication.
What's your thoughts as well, Mr. Ohazurike, because a lot of people are trying to get a better clarification on this. Is that the case, as NNA has just submitted, is that the case when the lead judgment delivered by Justice C.D. Baje relied on Section 11, Rule 5 of the Appeal Court's rules?
Well, that is the absolute truth about what happened in the Supreme Court today, because when the Supreme Court gives any decision on any matter, the only other person you can report the Supreme Court to is God Almighty, and that is until we leave planet Earth. So as it stands now, the Supreme Court has given a final judgment, and relying on the Court of, the Court of Appeal, when that matter, when the counsel to the APC applied to withdraw the appeal, the Court of Appeal ought to have dismissed that appeal, the respondents having joined issues, but the Court of Appeal did not do that and continued and tried to give reprieve to the APC. But what the Supreme Court did today was to say no. The right thing that should have been done would have been to dismiss the matter, and then went ahead to dismiss the matter before it, and also another appeal still pending. It relied on Section 22 of the Supreme Court Act to dismiss the other, a second appeal still lying before the Court of Appeal in Port Harcourt. So for now, on the issue of the congresses and primaries, this matter really started from the congresses in May last year, when the High Court said, don't do your congresses yet, there is a matter before the court so that it can be determined. So the same group that were elected from those congresses against the ruling of the court were the ones that elected the candidates. And that's why the court has just said, you cannot build something on nothing and expect it to stand. If the state ESCOs that elected these people were illegal, it means that the product of it also should be illegal.
Because
so there is, for now, there is no pending litigation.
If I may comment, my apologies, because the APC Rivers, hugely, they relied on the judicial process all the way to the Supreme Court, expecting something different to come out. And now this is the outcome. What options should there be, if any, between now and May 2nd?
Well, if you look at the...
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Anene.
The only options they have now is just to take any political decision, whether to support any other party or whoever. But for now, there are no other judicial options left for them. They have gotten to the final bus stop. The train has stopped there for them, And for any other decisions they have to take, it will just be a completely political decision, whether to support somebody from any other of the 90 political parties or whatever. But for now, APC will not be on the ballot. The Supreme Court has said that in categorical terms, and there are no more speculations about what will or not happen about the elections in Rivers State, both for the National Assembly elections and for the state elections. So people who support APC in Rivers State can now only vote for the presidential candidate of APC and no other person in APC within Rivers State.
Okay, well, because I actually wanted Mr. Anene to respond to that, but since you have, let me get your thoughts also on this, Mr. Anene. Why did the lower court fail to exercise its powers provided under Order 11, Rule 5 in coming to conclusion on this case in the first instance?
You see, let me go back to what my colleague said earlier. Section 235 of the Constitution is very, very clear. There is no other option left for the litigants than to support the ruling party in the state, and that is PDP, and that is Governor Nyesom Wike and his candidates. The party is doing well in the state. It may be sound political, but that is the right thing. There's no other political party in Rivers State that is even serious about the election. It's only the APC and PDP. And today, APC lost out in the Supreme Court. There is nothing they reasonably can do than to support the ruling party in Rivers State and move the state forward. But having said that, the High Court in Rivers State took a decision. They looked at the matter and took a decision, you know, and the decision was that the primaries was fraught with irregularities and malpractices. So on that basis, the so-called primary conducted by APC in Rivers State was declared nugatory. There's nothing anybody can do about it because they were dissatisfied. They look at the law, the constitutional provision, the constitution of the party, the 1999 constitution as amended, the electoral act, and came to conclusion that the primaries conducted in APC by APC in Rivers State was nugatory. If you look at the problems in APC primaries, they have three standards for their primaries. One is consensus, the other one is general primaries, the other one is by delegate primaries. And APC could not agree on one mode of conducting primaries in Rivers State. That's the genesis of the crisis. Okay, and the court only came in to assist them.
Let me come inside. Let me come here again, just so that we analyze this a little more detailed. And this is what Justice Bagay said, that it is my considered opinion that this appeal must be given a decent burial. The appeal having been withdrawn at the lower courts by the respondents is deemed distilled. This is what the lower court failed or evaded to do. Now the question is, was the lower court compromised such that it failed to come to that conclusion on this case?
Whether the lower court was compromised or not is left for the public analyst to say, but left for me. The court looked at the issues, the facts before it, and took a decision. Ordinarily, the position of the law is that when parties join issues, any withdrawal amounts to dismissal, not even striking out. But maybe the court was so liberal to them and wanted to give them a lifeline. But the Supreme Court said otherwise today. That was what happened. It's not as if to say that the lower court was compromised. It's not my position to know whether they were compromised or not. But the judges also look at the issues, the circumstances of the case. We're
just trying to analyze this. If I may come in again, my apologies. We're just trying to analyze this. Now, that very point, for some, is the true test of the judiciary, deemed for so many to be corrupt in some quarters. Does this take away from the confidence reposed on the judiciary, do you think?
No, the confidence reposed on judiciary has been restored today. The confidence reposed in Nigerian judiciary was restored today because they stated the law as it is. The position of the law is that once you file an application before the court and issues are joined on that application, if you withdraw the matter before issues are joined, it can amount to striking out. But once issues are joined, there are a plethora of cases. Once issues are joined, the other party haven't filed and responded to what you filed before the court. If you make any attempt or you withdraw that application pending before the court, the normal order to be given by the appropriate court is to dismiss the application in its entirety and with cost. But maybe the lower court was so liberal and wanted to see if we can save the suit.
Let me get your thoughts.
I think that is what happened. Not that they were compromised.
Brilliant. Let me get your thoughts, Mr. Tochukwu, very quickly before we go on a break. Let me get your final thoughts. Right. If you were to advise the APC in Rivers State, what would you be saying to them?
To advise them?
Yes.
They don't have anything to be told to do now because they don't have any more options. They don't have any more options. It's just to tell them to be calm and wait for 2023. That is absolutely what is left for them to do now because
I must thank you.
There were a lot of things that happened
at this point. Just very, very quickly, I must thank you, Emmanuel Anene and Tochukwu Ohazurike, both legal practitioners from Abuja Studios, for analyzing this with me.